Good evening and welcome to the Town Council meeting of February the 20th here at 6 p.m. in the Community Center room. We just got out of closed session and there's nothing to report. So let's do the opening ceremonies and call to order. Roll call, please.
Council members Abel.
Here.
Dennison.
Dennison here.
Droz.
Here.
Schooler.
Here.
And Mayor Lombardo.
Here. Let's stand, and Clayton Reardon, our community, whoops, where are you? Clayton in town?
Pastor Wilcox is here? Oh,
Yeah, okay, we're going to have Pastor Bill Wilcox is going to do the invocation, but the pledge is going to be led by Clayton, but I don't see Clayton. I asked him just a moment. Debbie will stand in for him.
Please place your hand over your heart and repeat after me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please remain standing. Pastor Wilcox, please lead us in invocation.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather this evening to be about the business of the town of Yucca Valley, we want first off to pause and give thanks to you for another day you didn't promise us. I pray for these town council members for a renewed sense of motivation and purpose in their service to the people of Yucca Valley, and that they might find your support and resources as they seek to resolve the sometimes impossible challenges they face in serving their constituents. I pray for the town staff this evening, for your rich blessing to be poured out upon them in their efforts to carry out the mission with which they have been entrusted. Grant them a strong sense that they are involved in something bigger than themselves. We pray for those in law enforcement, for your protection for them and their families. I ask this also for our fire and emergency medical personnel. I continue, Lord, to pray against the fentanyl crisis. I ask you to intervene and stop this senseless loss of life. And I pray for our children, for their welfare and security, their education, and that their homes would be strengthened and be safe havens as they grow and mature. Finally, Father, I pray for this meeting tonight, that you would give wisdom and discernment to each council member and each presenter, that the decisions they make would be for the greater good. I ask these things in the name of your Son, our Savior, Jesus the Messiah. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Be seated. All righty. So let's have the approval of the agenda. Is there anybody that wants to?
Mayor, I make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Dennison will second.
Council members Abel.
Yes.
Dennison.
Yes.
Droz.
Yes.
Schooler.
Yes.
And Mayor Lombardo.
Yes. All righty. The consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are listed. All items listed on the consent agenda are routine matters. Formal documents covering previous town council instruction. Items are enacted by one motion and a second without separate discussion, unless a member of the town council or town staff requests dialogue on a specific item at the beginning of the meeting. Requests for public comment on the consent agenda items should be filed with the town clerk. So is there anybody in the public that would like to comment on the consent agenda items number 4 through 9? Anybody online? Nope. Okay. Back to the council. Anybody want to comment on any of the consent items? Pretty standard stuff. So, seeing none.
Mayor, I'll move for approval of consent agenda as provided.
Okay.
Second.
All right.
Councilmembers Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Lombardo.
Yes. All right, we're just whizzing right through it. We're on item number 10, department reports. We're going to have a review and update, and the town council hear from the town sheriff's service specialists.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I brought with me a few friends, Melissa Kramer, and this is Paige Murphy, and then Harry Mincer is in the back. Harry is the commander of our COP unit, and today happens to be his birthday, I just found out, so.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah, very cool.
Appreciate your service.
As you know, Paige and Melissa are force multipliers, the town of Yucca Valley contracts for 2 sheriff service specialists. So they're going to describe a little bit about what they do and their day-to-day duties, as well as how they oversee the COP unit and what the COP unit does, and then we'll be available for any questions if you have any. So,
That'd be great. Thank you.
ladies?
All right. Well, as he said, I am Paige Murphy. This is Melissa Kramer. We're your Sheriff's Service Specialist for the town of Yucca Valley. What does that actually mean? So let me go ahead and start this. What is a Sheriff's Service Specialist? Sheriff's Service Specialists, or an SSS as we typically are called, perform a variety of specialized assignments to support law enforcement functions. Basically, we assist in calls for service. We do different types of duties throughout. For patrol functions, specifically, we add additional personnel in the field to handle with non-suspect contact crime reports, which results in faster response times for property-related crimes such as burglaries, identity theft cases, fraud cases, things of that nature. Additionally, we investigate and assist with traffic collisions to include traffic control and report writing. So we are actually capable of taking traffic reports if needed. And we also do road closures, things of that nature when necessary for traffic collisions. We also do crime scene investigation processing. So we will go out and assist deputies, detectives with photographing scenes, fingerprinting, DNA collection, evidence collection. And additionally, we assist deputies with their investigations, which at times can actually free them to go continue other calls for service, such as if they're waiting for a vehicle to be towed or something of that nature, we can actually stand in for them and allow them to continue doing higher priority calls if necessary and things like that. Other duties that we actually have, additional sheriff service specialist duties. We plan and coordinate community events for the town of Yucca Valley in partnership with the Sheriff's Department. Melissa here is actually our social media coordinator, which allows her to promote information related to our community events. And then she also utilizes that media to advise, educate, and inform the community of emergency situations, preparedness for natural disasters, which we've had recently with the rains, online safety, crime prevention, amongst many other things. And then lastly, volunteer resources coordinators. We coordinate the use of our Citizens on Patrol, our COPs, and they assist with the needs of the departments such as, but not limited to, administrative runs, community events, traffic control, and road closures. So in 2023, we had quite a few community events. These were just the top few that we were able to pull together. Quarterly Coffee with a Cop events that were located at our local Starbucks in Yucca Valley. We did the Career Expo at the Yucca Valley High School. Cookie with a Cop, which was in partnership with the Boys and Girls Club. It was an awesome event. Grub Stakes Day Parade, we do traffic control as well as assist with road closures on that. Help Your Neighbor event in Yucca Valley at the Walmart. We were in assistance with that, with the planning and coordination of all of that, with the closures of the parking lot, things of that. CNC graduations, we do parking control. Yucca Valley High School graduation, which I'm sure all been to at least once or twice. We handle a lot of the traffic control and closures on that. Same with Yucca Valley Fireworks, Concerts in the Park, National Night Out, Shop with a Cop, which is one of our favorite events to assist with and work with SEBA as well as Walmart, and Christmas Light Parade and Mars Christmas Wish. So these are just a few. Like I said, we could probably continue a list, but I kind of wanted to keep it somewhat smaller. But we couldn't do these events without our Citizens on Patrol. They are so crucial with so many different different duties within the department. They help us tremendously, and we couldn't be more grateful for them. So Citizens on Patrol, hopefully my thing's coming up. So currently we have 17 active COP members. Those members average 35 hours per month for volunteer time within our department. Within that, we have 4 weekly administrative runs, 2 monthly runs to Adelanto for food services, and they assist with fleet transport, which is helping with our vehicles, our police units that sometimes need transport for maintenance and things of that nature. So they do that about 4 to 6 times per month. And then community events, again, we have 3 community events on average per month that they assist with. On top of all of that, they still continue to actively patrol our neighborhoods. They do vacation patrols, extra patrols, and they provide over 60 hours of service on that as well. So with that, that kind of gives you a little brief rundown of what we do, what our COPs do, and with that, are there any questions that we can assist with?
If I could interject just briefly, I know that long before my arrival, the town contracted for a second sheriff service specialist position using Measure Y funds. And frankly, I cannot imagine our job without them. They talk about being a force multiplier. As you know, we have a very young cadre of deputy sheriffs here, and both of these ladies now have been with us at the station for a while, so they are really subject matter experts when it comes to crime scene processing. Working traffic collisions can give great advice to younger deputies who maybe it's their first, second, third, or fourth one of each of those things. So the experience level and really the bang that the town gets for that buck is phenomenal. So I can't say enough of them, and I really commend you for using those Measure Y funds to support that second sheriff service specialist position. Many of our stations throughout the department do not utilize that service, so I appreciate you taking advantage of it. It makes all the deputies' jobs better, and I think we have higher clearance rates and better response times because of it.
Is there anybody in the public that would like to comment? Anybody online? Excuse me. All right, any council members? Go ahead. Councilmember Dennison.
Well, Paige and Melissa, thank you very much for all the work you do. I've seen you at many, many events, and seeing the list, you guys are out there more than I am by a long shot. But I'll tell you, one of the things that was interesting to me is your presence at the school, your engagement in the school, and just kind of curious about how you see that working to possibly start with the next generation of public service employees, that may, whatever role they want to choose. Do you interact with that and kind of encourage them, coach them?
So we did do the Yucca Valley Career Expo earlier in the year, and with that, we were out there and we were kind of explaining what we do. Same kind of situation as tonight, where we were giving them advisement on if it's something they were interested in, if they wanted to lean more towards like the crime scene processing and evidence collection. Obviously, we have plans to continue to push out that education and give opportunities for other kids to explore those opportunities. So I would imagine like in the future, we'll have some other school-related events that we can assist with.
I just think it's great, your attitude out there in the public and being present at the events. I've seen you at many of them before, and you really you have an opportunity just to really foster some of those younger adults to possibly get into this type of, line of work. So it's huge. So thank you for that. I appreciate you being out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you mind sharing how many years you've had experience here in Yucca Valley and Morongo Basin?
Oh gosh, do I go first?
Well, I've been with the department total almost 21 years. I've been at Town of Yucca Valley SSS for almost 12, and all kinds of assignments in between of working in the jail and such like that. But so far, you guys are stuck with me. Just kidding. No, I really enjoy it as I've seen all your faces over and over throughout the years, and building that relationship through all the staff at Town of Yucca Valley makes it so easy for me. It's like a phone call, a text. Hey, it's Melissa. Okay. So I do appreciate all the support through the years of now 12 years, almost 12 years already.
Wow. Okay.
It's awesome.
So I'm coming up on 10 with the county. My story's a little bit different. I was with the county for about 5 years. I married my husband and we traveled. He was military. So I actually came back in 2018. So I've been back for about 5 years. I've been in SSS for about 2 of that 5. So total on board, I've been on for about 10 years, but 2 as an SSS and 1 year as patrol SSS.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. I'm sure it makes it's real helpful to the department to have people with years of experience. You know, you build relationships, people trust you, they've seen you before. And I see you're out there in the vehicles quite often, so I know you're very active. Your citizens on patrol, are we at 17, are we continuing to actively try to recruit? Because it's so hard to find volunteers in any kind of a nonprofit or a volunteer program. Are we still continuing? What would be the ideal number so that the burden's not too heavy on any one particular person?
Really, I think, luckily for us, we actually have someone getting sworn in next month in March, which is very exciting because of COVID and stuff, kind of restrained some of the open meetings that we had. But we're always recruiting. Honestly, our COPs do the best job of opening that door at all those events we listed tonight. I think a great number for Yucca Valley would be 25. I mean,
Okay.
Of course, we're always expanding up and more help is better. Harry almost probably works more than I do on every event, and I told him that we always spend our birthdays very much the same of showing up in uniform, so that just shows his dedication right there.
I appreciate that. And citizens, I don't know if you have another presentation on citizen on patrol, but the majority of those hours, are those continuing to be, you said, you know, vacation notices, so the public can notify your office that, hey, I'm going to be gone for a month or whatever, this is my address, there should be no activity, blah, blah, blah. So then you go on the route and so forth. And then there's regular patrols of the downtown area with businesses and shops?
Yeah, absolutely. Monthly we do like a training and kind of what the like hot topics are. Sometimes vacation rentals, business checks, especially obviously during the holidays. If there's a crime trend happening in Yucca Valley, we'll say, hey, go through these areas. Vehicles not being locked, stuff like that. So absolutely, they actually are the second eyes for us, and we'll call on the radio if they need deputy or our assistants. They've rolled up on traffic collisions before anyone else has responded, and then we're their next call, so.
Wonderful.
Definitely a patrol help too.
And the part of their duties is also to report graffiti or something that they notice, because the sooner we identify it, the better we have a chance of trying to narrow the window of when it appeared and surveillance and all those types of things. So do they do that as part of their duty, or is that something that should be added?
Well, definitely they give notice to me, or actually our school resource officers are very hands-on with that stuff with them as well. They'll usually just send me a photo and what's kind of going on, and if it's not reported, then that gets generated. And then also to like abandoned vehicles that they obviously doesn't look right, doesn't fit, which is a big help to the town as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for all the volunteers, and we need to have a formal, again, I know you recognize them on a regular basis, but it'd be nice for us to recognize them more often. So thank you for your hard work and helping us.
Well, my questions have been mostly asked and answered expertly. Thank you. Did want to know if there's an academy, a training academy for COPs scheduled or coming up that people could look forward to, sign up for?
Our volunteer forces does have a scheduled Citizen Patrol Academy. All of us are, or I'm sorry, all of us, but all our COPs are currently certified, except for the one getting sworn in this next month. But our volunteer forces host that. It's a 2-week academy with a driving course and also a first aid CPR certification.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for what you do, and thank you to the citizens on patrol as well.
Mayor Pro Tem Droz.
I just want to say thank you for the great presentation. And, you know, when you read things on paper, it's a little different than when you see you present. And I wish your presentation could be shown to many people, like some kind of public service video or something, because I don't think a lot of the public knows how much you do. So I think that's really important. And I have a question about your volunteers. Are they compensated in any way to motivate people to sign up and try and do that?
Well, absolutely. We do a few things through the year. Our big one coming up is our Volunteer Appreciation Picnic, which is a large-scale department event. And then also locally, we do like a dinner annually. Harry wants coffees most days, stuff like that. But I definitely think that we thank them over and over. Yes, sir.
Do they get a monthly compensation, though, in any way, or?
No.
No.
It's all
No uniform
Okay.
allowance.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's something we can think about to encourage more people. I think Harry deserves that, so. Anyway, well, thank you very much. I appreciate your presentation.
I have a question. How much of the time that you're on patrol is involved with traffic accidents? Have you been seeing an uptick in that? Seems like the traffic has been really heavy this last year, and have you been noticing?
We have been seeing quite a bit more traffic collisions, as well as a lot of hit and runs, unfortunately, in this
Yes.
area of recent. I believe we even had one earlier this morning. So it is, I guess, common. We have an influx of people coming in, visitors who are not necessarily familiar with all of the different stops and stuff within our area, especially at Sage and Yucca Trail up in that area. They seem to always not exactly know how to manage that stop and turn light, and we have some collisions over there. We did have one during King of the Hammers where it was a trailer, and it was 3 cars that I actually took the report for. So it's probably just honestly par for the course with the amount of people that are coming in, the tourists, the travel, and we do see an uptake in that at this point.
We greatly appreciate what you do to keep our community safe, and we appreciate the volunteerism on the COPS program. I think that's always been a good thing, and so thank you so much for your service. Thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay. Are we going to, we're just reviewing, and that's it. We don't have to pass any vote on that. Number 11, Yucca Valley Community Center Athletic Facility Master Plan Award of Design, Professional Services Agreement for RHA Landscape Architect Planners, Inc.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item before you tonight is the Yucca Valley Community Center Athletic Facility Master Plan, and that the recommendation before you tonight that the Town Council awards a design professional services agreement for the Yucca Valley Community Center Athletic Facility Master Plan to RHA Landscape Architects Planners, Inc., in the amount of $219,040, authorizing an additional $16,640 to evaluate other sites if needed, subject to the town manager approval, authorizing the town manager, town attorney, and mayor to sign the town's design professional services agreement and related documents for these services. Back in December 5 of 2023, the town council authorized an request for proposal from different consultants to evaluate the area, the master plan of the community center. That came from the pickleball court that we received the check for last week, the 1.6 million. And that we were thinking, the proposal or the RFP was structured in 3 milestones that is, for the consultants to consider. The first one is the pickleball court, 12, 14. We don't know yet how many pickleball courts we can build in the area that we have. This is a milestone that the consultant is known to be completed with the complete construction document ready to go to bed by July 30 of 2024. The other milestone for that is the basketball court. So it seems like the area that we have that can fit the pickleball court will be where is the existing basketball court is right now. So we're evaluating another area for the basketball court. Could be north of that, could be to the side. Still, until we have the consultant on board, we will find out exactly what we need to do or where the location of it. The third aspect of the project is for the evaluating of the skate park. Is this the skate park we have right now? And if we renovate it, is it good enough? Do we need to expand it? We need to move it? We need to do what? So that is all depending That is going to be through community meetings that we're going to be having with people to understand what the vision and what they're looking for. So based on that, we got 5 consultants to respond to the RFP. So we had a committee, from professionals that through the organization, from recreation specialists to engineering to the parks, the parks supervisors, evaluating the proposals. We came to 2 proposals that was stood up, and we interviewed both of them. And the committee have decided that is RHA will be the one, RHA Landscape Architects Planners, Inc., to be the one that delivered the project for us. As you know, that is the funding for this project is based on from 801 Special Revenue Fund is for the design, so we can leave the 1.6 million for the construction of the pickleball court. That is the recommendation before you tonight. Is the town council awards a design professional service agreement for the Yucca Valley Community Center Athletic Facility Master Plan to RHA Landscape Architects Planners, Inc., in the amount of $2,019 $40, authorizing an additional $16,640 to evaluate other sites if needed, subject to the town manager approval, authorizing the town manager, town attorney, and mayor to sign the town's design professional service agreement and related documents for these services. That concludes staff report. I'll be more than happy to answer any question following public hearing.
Is there anybody in the public that would like to comment? Your chance. Is there anybody online? Wow, quiet crowd tonight. Just want to say that company that was chosen, RHA Land Tech
RHA.
Architects. Wow, what a list of accomplishments already that they have under their belt, and some very innovative ideas on the skate park. I was pretty impressed with the pictures they supplied, and they've already done pickleball courts in quite a few places, so.
Their experience is beyond extending. They did a couple of big facilities for pickleball court
Right.
in Riverside and in, I believe, somewhere in Orange County.
Yeah. So it was pretty impressive. I think that we're going to get good service out of them and come up with something really beautiful again. I think that's really nice. Okay. Back to council. Any comments?
Sure. Alex, you said the construction documents for the pickleball courts would be ready to roll by the end of July. Is that what you said?
Yes, since the town since the funding that we received from the supervisor is ARPA funding, it have a deadline so we can deliver the project. So we have a strict deadline in our RFP. Well, I highlighted all of that. That is, we need these documents before the end of July so we can bid it. In a situation when we run is we have something bid over bid or one bid that we need to reject, so we can go back and bid that again and maybe, promote it. We'll try to promote it, of course, the minute we bid it, but just to give us the time so we can deliver the project on time.
Sure, good, thank you. Well, I like the contingency for, in case we run into constraints and need to look at another site. I like building that into it. And I also have a lot of confidence in RHA. We've worked with them over the years here in Yucca Valley. They've done a lot of projects with us, and Doug Grove and the rest of them there have been exceptional. They've been really easy to work with and delivered very professional results. So I like it. I like the whole recommendation.
Councilmember Councilmember Abel?
Yeah, thank you. And I apologize if it's in my packet. I've been looking for it. The other bid came in at what number?
219.
I'm not sure the numbers.
We put out for 2 bids. We had 2 bids. You both interviewed both, and you came with this recommendation? Yeah.
The other one was about around the same, 220, 25.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
A little bit higher.
All right, and then I agree with Councilmember Schooler on some points that this company has proven themselves, and we have some knowledge of their expertise and so forth. So you're going to have to walk me through it again. So we sent it out for design for the community center, trying to accommodate pickleball courts, and then trying to accommodate a basketball and trying to accommodate a new skate park. and trying to configure all three on site if possible.
That's correct.
And then the possibility of more parking, which we can or cannot, I mean, we do or don't do. We don't have to approve their recommendations, but they do the design work. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then the other thing is that there was a additional fee if they were going to look at a secondary site.
That's correct.
That's the part that I don't agree with Councilmember Schooler, is because I think because I hate to see all these planning things and all the money, goes out of our pocket just for planning, and then who knows how long it's going to be till we build a skateboard park. Who knows how long it's going to be, that we expand our pickleball court larger than it is. I would really like to see I'm not interested in pickleball being on any other site, first of all, because I think the community center is the ideal location. We have the parking here. It's away from many homes. I don't want to see it up at Essex Park by other homes up there. It's quiet neighborhood, and boy, that will echo like crazy out there. At least down here, we have traffic noise. We have airplanes coming in and going. It's not a quiet area. So I'm against looking in another area. Also, if I can guess what consultants want to do, they always want to look at a secondary area so they get the additional funds and so forth. So I think we should focus our attention on just this site here and what can possibly fit here, and if basketball has to be moved to another location, or if the skateboard park, will stay. I don't know if they had a feeling on what our existing skateboard park is. Are they saying it's like not ADA compliant, let's destroy it and start from scratch, or let's work around it? I know the basketball courts have to go if we're going to do pickleball, probably.
So to answer some of these questions, the consultant hired the same consultant that did evaluate the skate park before.
Yeah.
Is the same company that is Sue and her staff worked with before, prior to my arrival here. And they were having the idea at the time. They took the project as, upgrading the existing, skate park. But then, in different meeting, you have indicated that you wanted to look into make it bigger, maybe move it somewhere. So we added that aspect to the consultant to look into this and discuss that with community. Is that the better location? Is if we expand it, if we move it a little bit, or if we need to demolish it and put it somewhere else? So all of this will be discussed and come up with conclusion for you guys to look at.
And I'm very much open to that. My thought was, why have the cost of destruction and then building another park instead of just expanding upon it, or having two locations, one for skateboards and the other is used for scooters, so why destroy it if it doesn't have to be destroyed? Now, they're going to look at it. If it doesn't fit the standards or safeties, there's an issue of liability. I'm not opposed to destroying it, but why take away a facility that's being used by people for decades now, and so forth. And again, I'm opposed to going to any other site. Let's see what we can build on this site, and then if later on we want to look at, okay, we can't fit everything here, then somewhere down the line we'll build basketball courts somewhere else or skateboard park somewhere else. But that's just my thought for right now.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, Alex, I think it's really important to look at other sites. I don't know. I have no idea what will fit here and what won't. But, really nearby, we have the Brem site. There might be something there. It's like it takes a professional look at it and really figure it out. So I definitely support looking at other sites, and it may all end up right here at Town Hall, but we won't know that until a professional looks at it. So thank you. Thanks for all your hard work.
Okay.
I'm just glad to hear the presentation. This is great that we're getting to this point. Right now, it's kind of in the hands of the landscape architect with RHA, that they can see what we can do with the property that we have today to make it meet the future. needs. So there's a lot of great areas, and I just can't be more appreciative of the help we've gotten from Supervisor Rao to help us get to this point and such a fast pace. It's really accelerated the project that we've been talking about for a long time. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the architect gives us. He's a professional or she's a professional, whoever's going to be on that team. So thank you for your briefing. Appreciate it.
Great. Do we have the option of concentrating on the community center area and see what could be done? And then if the design architect says, oh, we just don't have enough room to do all these things here, can you bring it back to us and approve another budget for a little bit more to go look at another area? Or is it best done all at once?
Approving the recommendation today, that will add the funding needed for future of looking at another site. So far, right now, is the original plan, the original milestone for the consultant is to concentrate in this area to fit the pickleball court, courts, the basketball court, and evaluating the skate park. But if he comes in and say, you know, we can only fit 6 of them, we cannot fit more than that, and we are looking for more than that. So that is when the town manager and the deputy town manager may, you know, and discuss that and see if, let's look at another site, maybe we can fit 12 or 14, is, you know, which what I believe that what would need it. So it's all in the hands of the citizen of Yucca Valley, because they're the one who's going to give the input of what they would like to see.
Right. Does the additional cost to evaluate a second property, does it put an undue burden on our ability to produce it?
Couple things. So the intent of the contract and the recommendation that's before the council this evening was for a 2-step process. One was to do some preliminary design work to see what fits where, and then the second element was the construction documents. What staff has heard from the council this evening, at least from one council member, and I think this is what the council needs to discuss at this point, has been voiced. There is no alternative location for the pickleball courts except at the community center. And I think that's the conversation the council needs to have in order for staff to tell you how this process, how we can make it work to meet that council goal.
Okay.
So I think the council should discuss, as Councilmember Abel raised the issue, he is only interested in pickleball courts at the community center. I think the council should discuss that issue, and then we can help you get to where we want to go.
All right. Let's kind of discuss that a little bit.
I'll go ahead and lead off on that. I'm in agreement with Merle on this, and we've spoken of this many times before. One of the largest things that I hear that is distraction of the community is the noise of the activity itself, pickleball. It's kind of a whack kind of noise, and of course it can be at nighttime, you know, lit courts and things like that. I think the community center is a prime location for it, and that's really the only discussion that I've heard so far that has a great response, you know, from the public. So I would like to see it here also for a lot of those reasons. I think
let me
it's
hear
the proper
from the other
location.
councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, I would like to see it here also, but if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. So then maybe think about Brim, or I can't imagine anywhere else in my mind beyond the Brim area. But I think it's important to consider other places, because if it doesn't fit, you can't quit. No, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit.
Okay. Currently, they're at Jacob Park, right?
Yes.
And are we having noise complaints about the existing? There's only 4 courts, though, right?
I'm not aware of many noise complaints related to that. I defer that to Sue and her team, but other than that, I have not heard. I mean, the other thing to keep in mind when we look at alternative sites or alternate site alternatives is you would kind of come up with your typical list of these are really pros for this site, these are cons, and irrespective of what area you look at, you will have that. So just thinking off the top of your mind, it could be congestion of facilities. For example, here at the community center, you're going to have, the town's not immune from Western Joshua trees. We got a bunch of them out here. So that's going to add costs to your project depending on what that ultimately looks like and how that plays out versus maybe some place that doesn't have any at all. Another issue that the consultant's going to have to deal with is ease of constructability. How fast can we get in? We're under a time constraint to have this done by 2026. So many of those things we would add to the list as we go through and evaluate various sites. Ultimately, it'd come back to the council for final approval of whatever configuration is developed.
Okay, so far I'm hearing 2 in favor, 1 against, and where do you sit on the fence?
Well, I'm in favor of looking at the alternative site, and among other considerations, I think just in terms of conscientious park planning, trying to pack too much into one spot with parking considerations. Congestion seems to be an issue that just keeps coming up in my head. When we have concerts in the park, when we have the craft fair at the holiday time, when we have events here at the community center, our parking lot is maxed out, and then some. And if we have pickleball tournaments for 12 or 16 courts, it seems like that adds a lot more traffic for players and spectators. So just being open to the option. I know this is the preferred location, I understand that, but if that doesn't work, like Councilman or Mayor Pro Tem Droz said, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. And to lock ourselves into that at this point, I think is premature. I think we need to consider the alternatives while we have the chance to do that.
Okay.
I would like to remind the council that these funds that we received was from the county, from our county supervisor. And she gave us funds based upon the Morongo Basin using these facilities, not just the residents of Yucca Valley. And so I think the preferred site would be at the town center, where we're on the highway, people can come from all over the Morongo Basin to it, versus a neighborhood park up wherever, in Essex Park or up by Sky Harbor. That seems to undermine what I believe the county supervisor was wanting to have, is a community, a basin-wide recreation of pickleball. So I think that that is why, I would want, we have land here, whether we lose a basketball court or not, we have enough land for pickleball courts. How many will be determined, but it just wouldn't make sense to take the county's money of a community or a basin-wide facility, pickleball, and then put it somewhere else just because now we're interested in skateboard park expansion or new basketball court. This money was focused on the pickleball, and that was it. Now, all of a sudden, we're adding other things into the equation. So again, what is the difference between this $16,000 more or something like that for alternative site?
Just for them, if we, like I said, if we need it, and then, we say, for example, like I said, Essex Park.
Right.
So the 16,000 is for them to go ahead, evaluate the site, survey, and, we'll come up with alternative, master planning for the area. It's
Okay.
not,
Yeah. And I know that they'll want to do that because they're going to have more money in design, and it's more of our taxpayer dollars going out. Because I will basically vote against any other location that doesn't make sense for the whole community of Morongo Basin. But anyway, that's just how I stand. We don't need a unanimous votes to move things forward. But again, I think the county supervisor blessed us with a large sum of money for pickleball, and now we're starting to change maybe the vision by putting it in some other park. So that's just my 2 cents.
I see 2 and 2, and I'm going to break it and go for the town community center as the location, and only want to hear it if it does not fit our requirements of having enough pickleball courts in our area here. So I think, does that give you direction?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're voting on, yes.
We need a motion and a vote.
I'd like to move on item number, what is it here?
11.
11, yes, thank you. And so I don't have to read it, but item number 11, I'd like to move on that.
Council members Abel,
No.
Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Lombardo.
No. So does that throw us behind on schedule, though? That would be my only
No,
concern.
staff has direction.
Okay.
They're going to look at alternative sites.
Okay.
If needed, not necessarily.
Okay. I'm sorry, I got a little confused on that. Item number 12, the formation of an ad hoc committee, High Desert Water District.
Good evening, Mayor. This item is for a proposed formation of an ad hoc committee for the use of discussion for High Desert Water District, or with the district. So it's come to staff's attention that there could be some policy discussions needed between representation from the town of Yucca Valley and representation from High Desert Water District. So at this time, we're just looking to see if there is any interest for 2 council members to serve. This would be we anticipate this being a relatively short appointment. So the recommendation is to consider creating a High Desert Water District ad hoc committee and assign 2 council members to serve on that committee to engage in policy discussion benefiting both agencies.
Okay. So is there any public comment? No? Nobody online? Why? Okay. Go ahead, Councilman School.
Mayor, I'm a little light on committee assignments right now. I'd be more than happy to serve on that if it pleases the council.
Okay. Very good. Councilmember Abel, anything to say?
I would support Councilmember Schooler in wanting to be one of the 2 representatives.
Okay, very good. Council. Okay, so Mayor Pro Tem Droz?
I support him also. I don't know if I have the time to do it.
Okay.
You know,
Yourself?
I just left a committee like 6 months ago,
So,
but I support Councilmember Schooler.
okay, so we're all in favor of Councilmember Schooler, and I would like to volunteer my services for the committee if there is nobody else that was driving to do it. I know a lot of you are really busy.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Councilmember Schooler and Mayor Lombardo to serve on that committee.
I'll second the motion.
Council members Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Lombardo.
Yes.
And thank you
All right.
for
On to number 13, Townwide Beautification Program update on the signage.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I think you'll have a little bit of fun with this one. This is something that's been on your strategic plan for a while. You can see it there outlined. It's of high importance as of your 2024-26 adopted strategic plan. As the town team began to assemble and kick around some ideas for how this might move forward, we pretty quickly came to the realization that this can really be viewed on a spectrum from one extreme to the other and a whole number of iterations in the middle of what the project ultimately will look like. So our goal today is to give you some ideas to talk about. If you can come to consensus on what you think are outcomes from the project today, great. If it's going to take a couple of meetings to get that direction, that's fine too. If there's additional information that you might need, that would be fine as well. We can come back to you. So I think everybody's familiar with this sign here at the west side of town. It's not town property. It's not a town sign. This was done by a nonprofit group, if I remember correctly. The Yucca Valley Chamber there is identified at the bottom. It used to look a little bit different. It was updated a while back. Town does not have a lot of vested direct interest in the signage. So that's kind of what we have today, and I think what has been batted around both in the community as well as in the council over the years. There was an additional sign on the north entrance coming into town off of 247, which I believe was a wood sign. I don't even recollect what it looked like, but I think it was a relatively simple sign that was taken out by a vehicle at some point. And then on the east side of town, we don't have anything other than the standard green sign, I believe, that's typical in any other municipality. I think by way of example, to get the creative juices of the council flowing, We're just going to kind of roll through what some of the other cities have done. And then you can take that and kind of see where it fits in your mind. I apologize on a number of these pictures. I just grabbed them off of the computer, so a lot of them are not very high quality, so my apologies on that. This is Palm Springs, obviously. This is a different location, same type, but not a whole lot of consistent theming. One of the spectrum bookends is deals with branding, and so I just wanted to bring a couple of different perspectives from what other cities have done down Valley. This is obviously the corporate logo of the city of Palm Springs, and you can see here there's no reflection of that at all. Further, some cities have gone into a different logo for branding or marketing purposes, like you see here. On their website, for example, the lower logo is used typically in their communication, and then the corporate logo may be put in somewhere else, but in a much less prominent setting. Other examples from down below, you've probably seen this one on Date Palm, beautiful structure. Other people think it's hideous. So I think as you engage in this conversation, it is somewhat artistic at the end of the day, depending on what the end result is. And as all art will have many supporters and many detractors from the same thing. This one's a little bit different with La Quinta. This is one sign entrance that has a combination of their corporate logo or some version of their corporate logo, as well as their regular identification for the city. You can see here in their marketing, that is their corporate logo, and then they also have different marketing for what they would like to do in their outreach for visitors. And so that is an official visitor guide, and it has the Love La Quinta, and that is their marketing tagline, if you will. This is an example of a sign that they have that kind of does both. It uses their marketing tagline of Gem of the Desert as well as a corporate logo in an artistic way, and then the city designation. So a little combination of everything. Some are very straightforward. It's about as plain as you can get. Street marker, City of Indio. I snapped this one because you have one look here. You have a different look, but same type of theme, if you will. Rancho Mirage is probably the most consistent in terms of look and feel. So they have a number of these around their city in different locations, and they all look pretty much the same. So it's a different one. Again, same thing. It's a different style, a little bit different style, but the same. So you have the mountains at the bottom. Their corporate logo is the ram head, and so you can see that mountains at the bottom, kind of same look all the way across. This is interesting. This is Rancho Palos Verdes. You would expect maybe something a little bit different, but it's a very rudimentary street sign. That's what they use. So it doesn't necessarily, some communities are very comfortable. It's kind of, this one is funny to me because you probably have these $5 or $6 million homes, maybe $10 million homes in the background, and this sign in front. It's pretty funny. Very generic, corporate looking, with Moreno Valley, some here. And I kind of bring these up to think about what it is in your outcome of entry monumentation. It can play different roles, right? If you're thinking through, for example, of a place where you want somebody to come and take a picture as they come into Yucca Valley, a sign like this is probably not going to get you there. It's pretty straightforward and not very exciting. So it really depends on what the goal is in the process. These are smaller cities. City of Southgate, pretty straightforward sign. You have a very large city, City of Long Beach, and a very simple sign. All right, so this is kind of the spectrum that I was referring to. And if you think through this project, we start on the left with about as simple of an approach in entry monumentation. And this would be direction to the town staff to just update what's there, figure out how to deal with the private property issue. If it needs to be relocated, maybe relocated, or get a license to take over that sign from the nonprofit or whatever that arrangement is now, clean it up a little bit and call it good. Right, so that's very low investment. We can probably knock that out in 6 to 9 months and move on. The next one would be, well, we don't like that sign, or we don't necessarily think it's very visible. We should probably have a new monument. Let's think of what that might look like. Maybe there's coordination with the public art component, which you'll see on the next slide. But we would like to have a new sign reflecting our entry area, either in one or more locations. That process, about 12 to 18 months, and a little bit more funding there. You move to the next two, we're really more focused on a more holistic approach of not just an entry monumentation, but is it time, or is this the right opportunity to begin to explore what is Yucca Valley's brand going to be. So if you think through from incorporation, I think probably early on before my time at the town, there may have been some efforts with initial branding of what Yucca Valley is. I think at one time there was a Discover Yucca Valley or some other efforts like that. Nothing in recent years that has gone to that level. And so if you think through branding development, what does that look like, and how might that affect potential art in its entry monumentation moving forward? That's a much different scale, likely would need to be coordinated with outside help. We can't do that internally. It's going to extend time frame, and it's going to extend budget. And then the last option there is kind of a coordinated town branding and complete wayfinding, so it's organized throughout the entire city in a holistic approach. And it may be a phased approach there. And again, that's going to cost you significant monies and significant time. And doesn't mean that you're limited to only one path. You might be interested in saying, well, we like one path, but that's going to take too long. So in the meantime, let's do something else. So that's always at the discretion of the council. The town council has already approved public art program, and one of the elements there is town entry beautification, with the charge for the PRCC to work through and potentially come up with some design options for community entrance monumentation. On that bookend, I just threw in this kind of scope of work plan. The intent is not to read it here, but this is kind of the bookend of if you move down the branding path and a more comprehensive look at what you want to accomplish. This is a typical work flow that would occur. You'd have some initial planning, needs assessment. You begin to develop what that looks like. You do some schematic designing, then design development. You may have a master sign program, construction documents, all of that process. Again, you can see where the dollars will add up and the time would add up in that type of an effort. The benefit is, for example, this one was associated, and we only did the first 3 of these phases with the Yucca Valley Aquatics and Rec Center to come up with the brand YV Arc. That will be our guiding brand for everything that we do at that center. So that's done and over with. We have that guidance, we have the logo, we have the direction of what we're going to use, and so that's in your back pocket. You don't have to reinvent that wheel. So those are some of the benefits of taking that more holistic approach. So with that, I think we'll just turn it back to the community and the council to talk about. Again, we don't know that we're going to get complete consensus from you tonight, but we wanted to start that conversation to identify what it is that you're thinking through when we talk about entry monumentation and what you're looking for.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the public? Come on, I need some ideas here. Let's go. Anybody? Anybody online? Okay. I can't force you, can I? No. Okay. Let's take it back to council then. Councilman Schooler?
Well, I I'm glad we're addressing this, or at least have the option to talk about this. I think it's been kicked around for a long time, and can's been kicked down the road for 3 decades now since the town incorporated, and somebody's somewhere got to have the vision, I think, to do the branding that everybody's been talking about over the years. And I'm not sure what that looks like, nobody is, but I think we can do better than what we've got. I think that sign at the west end, we can do better. And I'd like to see something consistent at all 3 entrances to town. I'd like to engage the art community that we have here to help maybe design that. But I'd like to see us commit to getting the ball rolling. I think the 3rd and 4th option up there both appeal to me. I'm not real sure about wayfinding that costs us an extra year and a bunch of money. Maybe we could add that later, but I think just to get the ball rolling and get the conversation going and get the consultants and artists engaged, I think the benefit to our community, the economic development benefit, and our look and feel of our town, I think would be worth it. I would support either one of those last 2 options.
Last 2? Okay.
I guess I'm the grumpy old man tonight. But I had a couple questions. I know that the location of the sign coming into town is not on town property and so forth. It's also really sort of hard to see as you're coming over the hill. Plus, if we did put something up that was really cool, we don't want people on the side of the highway or freeway or whatever you call it nowadays to get out and take a picture like they do in Joshua Tree. And Joshua Tree is just a cool artsy kind of wood sign that people pull over and take a picture. And they take a picture of it probably because it says Joshua Tree. And I don't know if they have the rights to that name. I know it's the area, Joshua Tree. Maybe we should just change our name from the town of Yucca Valley to Joshua Tree, California. Take the name over, and then we can do everything Joshua Tree, and then move on from there. So that would help with branding, because then everyone recognizes us at that point as soon as we're called Joshua Tree. Anyway, but I'm being a little silly, but I was wondering if we're talking about signage coming in. For example, it's nice to have it as you enter into town, but it may be not necessary or maybe not feasible, at least on the one end of town, on the side coming in from Morongo. I didn't know if that signage or what we choose could be used at the new downtown parking center as the town of Yucca Valley, something that's cool, artsy, and consistent. And I really liked, if we go back to one slide on, was it Rancho Mirage, that had really, I thought was really pretty cool design. And they looked like they incorporated a sign with some type of metal work.
Ram's horn?
Yeah, back in there. So I don't know if that's just colored concrete at the top, or if that's metal, or how it's made, but it's got some art design to it, and it's got some consistency. And but I think to spend a whole lot of money on branding and getting another consultant to take money out of our pockets, we have artists that we could put it out there and float and see if we can get some artists to do some type of design or at least propose it. And then we could then get the rights to it and be able to duplicate it in 3 locations. The other thing is you could have the same kind of signage as that, and you could change the artwork at the top. In each one being a little different. So it's a different art piece that's incorporated with the sign, but you have the uniformity. I understand what you're talking about, uniformity of all 3 signs looking the same, but yet maybe we can capture some art that's attached that's maybe uniquely different instead of a duplicate. So that's just an idea. And again, I'm not for paying a consultant to get us some branding on 3 signs coming in and out of the town. So that's just, like I said.
Thank you. Councilman Dennison?
Yeah, thank you. So one thing, I'm kind of in line with Councilmember Schooler that I kind of like 1 and 3 in those areas. But I do agree with Merle that I think internally, the artists of our community would drive the look better, more contemporary to our area, whatever that may be. I'm not the artist person, never have been, But we talked about it a while ago with the ARC. It seems like the discussion tonight is a lot of what we dealt with that. Trying to find a large complex and see if it'll fit in a small area. And it looks like the architects were able to do that and it worked out. But that journey also included the branding. I find it difficult to come up with signage or anything until we find out what our brand is going to be. I believe it would be something that we would get behind the curve if we start designing something and later go, hey, I came up with this great look, and then we're back where we are, different color street signs, different logos. Whatever it is that people like around here, whether it's Antone Martin and the things he's done, Warren's Well that's hidden over here no one knows about, Water Canyon or our neighbor, the national park, or as we call the monument. I think at one time we talked about, or I had spoken about it, about each area kind of being identified, but having the actual sign itself, kind of like a neighborhood. The sign itself would be the town of Yucca Valley and whatever kind of fancy schmancy thing we come up with. I think internally to the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Commission would be a really good move. Mm-hmm. But then from there, when we're over on that end of town, going up to Pioneer Town to be the Water Canyon neighborhood of town of Yucca Valley, or we may have, whatever it is. Story Park, or, yeah, something, for a park itself, like we have Essex up in Sky Harbor, as they call it, or even Black Rock or South Park. But there's so many things that run through my mind, but the thing is to come up with the look. And we did that with the ARC. We came up with a brand, and now when we start moving forward, we can integrate that brand, whatever the messaging may be. People know right away, oh, it's of interest to me because it has something to do with the ARC. At least that's my view on it. So I think the basic part, the first one, number one, we have a lot of unbranding to do. We have a lot of cleanup to do. We have a lot of overstrike or strikeout to do to slowly bring in whatever it is that we come up with a brand. So those two pieces look good. But consultant-driven, like I said, I think it could be our own Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Commission or an outreach to our community of artists. That could be our consultant-driven item. So that's my thought.
Mayor Pro Tem Droz.
I agree about the PRCC. I think they should be involved, definitely. But personally, as far as design, I lean the way of like the stone monument type signs, like Rancho Mirage, I think, has that. I think Sedona kind of had that. And looking at the pictures, La Quinta, but La Quinta's letters were too small.
Oh, yeah, horrible sign.
Yeah. But I do agree. I think, we should have Yucca Valley in big letters. I think the corporate logo, like we have our hat pins that we have in Yucca Valley with all the stripes of colors and show like the sunset. And I think we should use that logo consistently on all the signs. It would brand Yucca Valley using our corporate logo. And let's see here. I know Councilmember Dennison mentioned Pioneer Town Road, and I think that's important that we have a sign on Pioneer Town Road. It doesn't have to be a stone monument, but some kind of sign saying you're leaving Yucca Valley or you're coming into Yucca Valley. And we're always talking about the signs coming into Yucca Valley, but do we want a sign leaving Yucca Valley? Maybe a smaller sign saying you're leaving Yucca Valley. So those are all things to consider, and that's pretty much it.
All right. I'm in favor of the PRC and the Arts Council, that kind of stuff, just looking into it and making some decisions. I would like to see maybe even the Youth Commission involved in some of the, maybe come up with some ideas and just so that they're in the mix too, some younger thinking. I like the idea of materials that are pretty long-lasting are going to stand up to our desert environment, so the stone monument type thing, or I'm not sure where I saw this. It might be in Santa Barbara, but they had ceramic tiles that, like a mural type thing, and it was really well done. does not fade in the sun and that sort of thing. The only problem would be vandalism, somebody with a hammer. The other thing I like is those metal boxes filled with rocks. They're kind of like a box with angle iron and then grate, and they fill them with stones. But the signage would need to be rather contrasting in order to pull it off. I kind of like the idea of some kind of really low maintenance, excuse me, I'm having trouble, a low maintenance landscape that would allow for the opportunity to stop and take a picture with the logo of the town. I think it could be a big draw. People do that sort of stuff all the time. If you make it unique enough, and there's some ideas floating around about some art pieces that could be rotated through, those kind of things that might draw individual attention over time. The Instagram, I guess they call it, you stand in front of it, you take a picture, and you put it on the internet. I'm in Yucca Valley, and all the people that follow you look at it. For me, it's not all that important, but apparently it does get seen a lot, and it wouldn't be bad PR. I am concerned a little bit about the traffic problem. If it's, parking on the highway, that's not going to work. But is the park and ride location, is that an area where we could put a sign? It's more visible than the one we have. We already own the land there. The park and ride? We already own the land there, and if it's signs designed right, it might be more readable as you come into town than the sign we currently have, even if it's on the opposite side. You know what I'm saying? You have to look across the highway to see it, but it could be very visible there, whereas the one we currently have is kind of tucked off to the side.
So I think what we're hearing, couple thoughts, and then maybe a couple more pieces of information that we would look for. The exercise today isn't designing a sign, so that will come, and as well all of the pros and cons of whatever sign development and location we have. Comment on, and I may have put this into the slide without the right context. When I say consultant-driven on an effort, really what we're talking about is the scope of the project and the fact that we as Yucca Valley are typically what we call a contract city, meaning that we keep our staff very small, very focused, and we don't have the expertise to run different projects. So it's not that the consultant is driving the artistic components. You can have a consultant that will still rely on and involve and help direct and push the project through the PRCC, through the Youth Commission, public input, all of that in a coordinated and timely way so it doesn't get to, as Councilmember Schooler said, another 30 years before we're able to make progress. Yeah. So that's really where the consultant, and this kind of same with RHA, I mean, we don't have that expertise in-house to do a lot of this stuff. Right? So we keep a relatively minimal staff, and we rely on finding people that can help us run these projects. So that's our model. If there's something different that the council wants to entertain, that's a different conversation, where if you want to bring those experts on board, we can have that conversation. But that's really what we're talking about. And so I guess I would push the council. It sounds like you're right now somewhere between the brown and the green, somewhere between, kind of staff and PRCC taking the first cut at coming up with some ideas. If you want to defer development of town branding, and then I heard from Councilmember Schooler and Councilmember Dennison on, well, it's kind of tough to come up with a sign unless we kind of know what our brand is going to be. So if you might want to spend just a little bit more time on that and kind of lay out where you see branding versus signage, if it's simply signage, and we can talk about that. I am going to ask Sue or Clay to jump in and talk about, from the perspective of the PRCC, their ability to be able to rely on community services staff to develop a project recommendation or at least alternatives and a path for how that might move forward.
We know that this was an interest of the town council from prior to the public art policy being adopted, and that's why it ended up in the pilot programs. But even in that, in the pilot programs, the degree that of involvement or the length that we were prepared to go to was basically preliminary design and feasibility, because there's a lot of elements, land ownership, structure, Caltrans limitations, things like that, that we were only going to be able to get into as a public art program. Now, could we do, preliminary design, call for art concepts, things like that? Could we engage with some signage companies and community development to find out what's the feasibility of having the 3 locations? What would be the cost, perhaps, for the 3 locations? And just doing some preliminary feasibility. That's part of the public art policy. And certainly, I think the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Commission, they're amazing at outreach. They love to engage with the artists. So if you have a consultant on board who's putting together the schedule, bringing them those items and asking them to engage with the public, they're definitely on board to do that. It's part of their public art program. It's part of what they've approved to move forward. So I know they have the same interests as the council.
Okay. Sounds good to me. What do you guys think about the need for a consultant to coordinate and move things through in a timely fashion so we don't...
I don't think that's quite the question, Mayor, respectfully. I think that the question would be, do you feel that branding is important enough to be integral to this process, or that can be done in a phase, maybe a future phase, and you really want to focus on just the artistic elements of entryway monumentation?
Curtis, could you maybe elaborate on what branding is and how far that reaches and what we can do with that?
Kind of. I'm not an expert, even though I do have a marketing degree. So if you think back, this is kind of funny. If you think back to when we were talking about the Yucca Valley Arc project, and we were at that time trying to coordinate with our construction documents. So we were under a little bit of a time constraint. We came to the council and said, hey, we're interested in signage and coming up with a theme for the Yucca Valley Arc. And these are some ideas that we have for you to consider. Can you rank them 1 through 10? I think we did. We had some people that ranked 1 for number 1. The same sign was ranked number 10 from another one of the 5. And then it's in the middle. So when we talk about branding, what the team was looking at is, what are you trying to accomplish with the facility and how you want it to be perceived in the public? And so that can be integral to your monumentation, but it doesn't have to be. It can be completely separate. And you can have just a standard artistic sign that you like. And I think this is one of the things that Councilmember Abel brought up, which was, if you wanted to have standard entry monumentation on your either 1, it doesn't necessarily have to be 3, it can be 1, 2, or 3 of the entrances to the town, but a marketing piece different than that, and that's really kind of what our initial thought was on the public square at Elk, was, hey, we have this little patio, we really want it to be kind of the Instagram spot. The corporate logo isn't going to capture what you want there, and it needs to be something more energetic and attractive, visually attractive. And so I don't know if that answered your question, Councilmember Schooler, but the branding is really more, how do you want to position the town of Yucca Valley from outside perception, and what are your goals there to attract people to come here, to attract people to come to use it as a vacation spot, whatever. That's one side of it. monumentation can incorporate that, but it doesn't have to. It can be completely separate.
Okay. Do we have a consensus at all on how we want to move forward? Do we have, I would propose that we do something artistic with, and that could vary over the 3 sites, and stay with some easily recognizable sign. But first, we got to find out the feasibility, where it is, how big, how.
Curtis, the consultants we have on staff already, or that we already have under contract, dealing with outreach and communications and things like that, correct? They don't, this doesn't fall under their umbrella of branding of signs?
It could.
Yeah.
It could. It would be outside of their current scope of work, but they have done efforts for other organizations related to branding, yes. You're talking about Trepepe Smith?
Yes, right.
Yes, that is one of their, I don't know if it's their specialty, but it is something that they can do.
And you showed us an example of some monument-type signs for a particular city that were different than what they're doing as far as branding. Maybe the lettering was the same, but the message was a little different. So again, I go back to, you know, something artistic, something like I agree down the lines that it has to be, you know, substantial, it has to be weather resistant. I don't want it too trendy or current, so it doesn't look like, you know, something from the 50s diner, you know, that, you know, kind of thing, or, you know, something that's just the latest trend. We've seen plenty of those homes going up lately in Airbnbs, so it's just going to be repetitive. But, you know, again, I like the idea. Let's get some marketing, or as far as let's get some identifications of when you come in and out of town, you know, and welcome people. And again, I like your idea about location. They'll figure that out, but I thought the park and ride's closer to the front of coming in versus the downtown parking area, so that makes a lot more sense. And we needed a little update on the park and ride structure. Anyway, it's already needing to get some maintenance on it. So anyway, I'm open for any suggestions. I just don't want to spend a whole lot of money on some big, huge marketing plan for the next 20 years, 15 years, and we're not going to ever spend that money right away, and then branding changes or marketing changes in the future. So I don't want to overcomplicate this. I think we should look into some kind of we have some fantastic artists. I think of the Hamiltons and some of the artwork that he does for international entertainers, and it's really, he's local and is really great. We have several sculptors that do rock work and so forth. I mean, we got some experts that would design something that we could all like or not, you know, and go through the process. So I'm open to other suggestions.
Okay. Go ahead.
Just one last comment from me. Once again, I'm not really the art person to do that, but I do believe all signs are there to send a message. And for us, I think the conversation for me, at least how I'm totally looking at it, is it's for information. So I do like the wayfinding signs and all that, but that could come down later as long as we know what the theme is, how does it supposed to look in comparison to all the other signs. When you see a sign in Yucca Valley, I want you to know that's an important sign. I can tell by the look of it. It's got a message. What is it? Where am I going? Where am I at? You know, and am I in town, out of town? The message is the most important part for me, because that's what I look for on a sign. It has to be legible. That was the thing I didn't like about the La Quinta sign. I couldn't read it. The sign was gigantic, and there was this little, like, almost like a stamp on an envelope. It wasn't taking up enough of the real estate to make it informative. And script is not the way, especially when you have worldwide tourists. Cursive is not the kind of font you should use on a sign. It needs to be kind of boring, but the monument, or however you present that, that's what has the look. That's what is the art. The message has to be clean. That's the only thing I would look for in this proposal.
And it needs to be large enough that you can see it when you're moving in your car. Has to be readable from a
So it
distance.
sounds like most of the focus right now is really more on monumentation and what that sign might look like. So I think we have enough direction. And if we get to the point where it's beyond the scope of your existing staff, then we'll return back to you with maybe more specific recommendation on a scope that we might need assistance with.
that sounds
So in terms of direction, we'll probably move more toward the brown. And if it looks like that there may be significant or specific benefit by going to the green, we'll come back to the council and let you know what that looks like.
Okay. Does that? It's not a voting thing, right? It's, you've just needed direction, right?
So the red identifies as brown.
Different, like every person's perspective of the sign.
Okay, number 14, townwide beautification program update, graffiti and vandalism.
All right, thank you, Mayor. We'll try and keep this relatively short. This one's going to be, thankfully, a tag team here, so you'll hear from others on the team. What we wanted to do was, we've gotten feedback from council members at different times, as well as the public, on graffiti and vandalism, and quite frankly, it's sometimes very discouraging when we see that, and you'll see a couple pictures of that today. So we'll have an opportunity to talk about that. That, again, is something that's identified in your strategic plan to ensure that we have areas that look neat and have improved maintenance and appearance particularly along State Route 62 and 247, but quite frankly, this is townwide. We want to make sure that we keep this into perspective. So I'm sure you've seen this in the last week or so. This is, I think they're called Ocean something towers. This is right adjacent to what was formerly known as Staples Arena, right in downtown Los Angeles at the entrance. These are two condominium business towers that the developer ran out of funding, and the urban artists, if you want to call them that, decided to make use of this as a canvas. As a follow-up, I think I heard on Friday that LA, they had given the property owner a certain number of days to secure and make arrangements to get this cleaned up. That didn't occur because the property owner's bankrupt. And so the city allocated $3.8 million for the cleanup of this. And then directed town staff and legal counsel, or city staff and legal counsel, to try and recapture the money, which on a bankrupt project, you can imagine that they'll be waiting for a while for those funds. But that's just a scope check. So we fortunately don't have anything like this in our area. This is what we're dealing with. So a little bit different scale, but nonetheless, when you're seeing it or when you drive by, you know that it tends to spread. And so we want to stay on top of it and keep these things in check. Our current assessment, relatively limited in scope in our area, sporadic events. You'll hear this from some of the team today, that often this is your younger youth, school-age kids or young adults. And then when I say trends, these kind of go in cycles. Sometimes we have a whole bunch of it. Same thing with vandalism. We talk about the title here was vandalism. It can be graffiti as vandalism, obviously, or it can be vandalism of public facilities, and we'll talk about that a little bit as well. Some other examples, you've probably seen that one on Yucca Trail for a while before it was covered up, one on the flag box there. Utility boxes typically are very popular, and other blank walls, canvases, doesn't lend itself only to those areas. You have sidewalks and walls here. And then I think that one on the right is from our park and ride area. Some of this is public property or quasi-public property. Quasi-public, we would consider a utility box, even though it's not ours. We would feel comfortable going and tackling that right away. Same thing with the sidewalk. Private, definitely park and ride is. Private property with the security fence there is not public, and so it's a different approach, which you'll hear about in a few minutes. Examples of town property vandalism, why somebody would do this, we don't know. It happens, and again, typically probably, unfortunately, they're youth in the community that do this, and I think we have a video clip we're going to play. About the same time that this happened, we had this other incident also at Brem. Go ahead. So this was just clips of the damage over a couple of days in a weekend at Brem Park. So you don't know why people think that that's a good idea, but obviously something that's very discouraging when we see that. General guidelines in our town response to vandalism, obviously timely. We want to make it timely, multi-department, which you'll hear about in a minute. The good news is, particularly on graffiti, you have a very robust existing ordinance that provides some tools for the town. And then probably one of our biggest challenges is recognizing that oftentimes graffiti occurs on private property, and Tom will have some comments on that in a little bit. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Shane to talk a little bit about code compliance and the department's response of when these items are made known to us and what our typical steps are.
So many times we will see graffiti occurring on commercial properties along Highway 62, sometimes moving out into residential areas, but mostly along Highway 62. Staff makes contact with the business or business owner, property owner, store manager. Our goal is for the private property owner to take care of that issue. If it's a national franchise chain, that store manager doesn't know what to do except to call corporate. Then corporate has to find somebody who they will pay to come out and take care of the graffiti problem. That can take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. That's how their process works. So you might see some graffiti out under current process and programs. They say, we'll take care of it, but it's going to take them time to take care of it. If they don't take any action, then the town will take action. Many times, staff has just been painting over graffiti on their own. That's very, very common on utility company infrastructure. The utility boxes that you see, the small scale type of graffiti occurring on, staff's just been painting over on their own. The code staff is in the process of developing a request for proposals to have painting companies, soda blasting companies on contract, so that when we do have graffiti, we can get a hold of them, they can come up and take care of those issues for us. Again, they have other work that they'll be undertaking. That's not an immediate issue. They have to put it into their work program. They have other clients they'll be taking care of, but that at least gets us working into a program with commercial vendors to help us take care of the problems. And then finally, we share information and coordinate with the sheriff's office as they may undertake criminal investigations into some of the vandalism and graffiti that you see out in the community. So those are the typical, if I can describe them as typical, code processes for dealing with those issues. On our own properties, we rely upon technology. So cameras, videos, site monitoring. You saw Curtis played the video of the Brem 2 restrooms. We have magnetic locks on those doors, and individuals have been working on how to get through those magnetic locks. Staff is looking at alternatives for how to modify those doors so that cannot occur. We record data. We provide any of that data to the sheriff's office for their investigations. We coordinate on if somebody is identified and they go through the court process for prosecution. We work with the court system for reimbursement. On many cases of vandalism over the last 15 years, the town has successfully been reimbursed in a number of those cases. So again, on our public works property, it's a matter of technology. Other times it may be a sheriff's department report. There may be an accident that wipes out 3 different traffic signs. That information ultimately gets to town staff, who the driver was, their insurance company. We make contact with the insurance company, we provide estimates, and we get reimbursed in that fashion. So those are the 2 approaches for town staff.
And regarding the law enforcement response, we definitely encourage members of the public or the business community to report as soon as possible. We want to document all incidents of graffiti. Sometimes we hear about it from the town. You heard our COPs and our SSSs that drive around town regularly. If they come across it, certainly it's documented, and then we encourage it to be covered up and removed as soon as possible. Just the broken window theory of a lot of times it is youth. And when they see it, and when they see it for, a period of several days or several weeks, maybe it prompts an idea where they do it again and again and again. So the school district, for example, they're very good at letting us know about it. We document it, and they cover it right up because it can run rampant in there with all of the youth that they have. So whether it's in town, outside of town, at the school, all of our graffiti is documented under a report number, so it becomes a permanent record. We take a picture of it. We try and get in touch with the owner or the manager of the property to get it removed. And then it gets discussed at our station briefings. Because if one deputy on a Saturday morning takes a report with a very receptive homeowner or business owner, and they immediately cover it up, we want to make sure all the other deputies who are on days off or work the night shift see what that is. A lot of times the deputies, hey, that was there was similar tagging, down the street or in Joshua Tree or in 29 Palms, and then they can compare notes. We use our 2 school resource officers as a clearinghouse for all of our graffiti. They actually have a portfolio of stuff that was tagged at the school, in town, et cetera, where they can look. Generally, taggers don't travel very far. So if there's something at Yucca Valley High School, for example, you might see some things here in town, but it's very uncommon for it to travel out too far outside of town boundaries. So the school resource officers will actually use informants at the school, and they know who the troublemakers are, so it's very common for them to go through a student's notebook. Usually if they're tagging something on a wall, the same thing is tagged on their notebook or tagged on the bottom of a skateboard, or maybe even with a permanent marker on a backpack or something like that. So we've had some successful adjudicating the cases that way with our SROs, but that's definitely the most beneficial for us. Even if it turns out to be a young adult who doesn't go through the school, just having the central points of contact. Your SRO for Yucca Valley High School handles everything this side of Joshua Tree, and then it would be similar for 29 Palms. Additionally, they're checking out social media. A lot of people who do the tagging are very proud of it for whatever reason. So believe it or not, even though it's a crime, they'll put it on social media or someone else will, and we've traced it back that way. So the threshold, another thing that we'll document is the value or what it costs to rectify the situation. So the threshold is $400, whether it's a misdemeanor or could potentially be charged as a felony. Wow. So if it's just a matter of a can of paint, a lot of times it's a misdemeanor. But if it's something more significant that's going to take more cleanup, then the district attorney's office could potentially choose to file it as a felony. We could also, usually the tagging is not just in one spot. If somebody gets a can of spray paint or a marker, it's several places, so we can put all that together. If we could say, hey, this is one episode of vandalism and it's this individual's responsible, the total for this is $600, then the district attorney's office would have the option. It's called a wobbler, where they have the option to file it as a felony or a misdemeanor.
Wow. Thanks, Captain. Tom, you just want to mention a little bit about some of the challenges we talked a little bit already about the difference between graffiti on public property, town property, or private property, and some of the challenges and risks that we might have in addressing private property.
Sure. So as it relates to private property, I would just add, the town should always be sensitive and aware of entering private property to abate a nuisance, whether that nuisance is graffiti or whatever the public nuisance happens to be. There is always a level of risk if the town enters private property without owner permission or without an abatement warrant from a judge. And so I would just kind of conclude by saying, I mean, usually the fastest way or one of the better ways to enter private property to abate a nuisance is to get owner permission. That's usually a little bit faster, where the owner will sign a waiver and a release and will grant permission for town staff or a town contractor to enter that property and abate the nuisance or do the cleanup or, paint over the graffiti or whatever the case may be.
Thanks, Tom. And then you can imagine, oftentimes, if we have out-of-area property owners trying to, even if we want to go down the route of getting them to give us voluntary waiver and release to enter their property, to get a hold of them and to get a response can take time. And in the meantime, people see it every day, and so it becomes very frustrating. Your town ordinance highlights, this is your existing ordinance as it stands today. It does have a number of significant tools, everything from a requirement on how fast the graffiti is to be removed, limitations on graffiti implements by minors, not allowed. There is requirements on shop owners for locking up and not making available implements or spray paint, for example, to be available. And so if you were able to identify that a minor was able to buy their spray paint at a store and then used it, that store can be liable for the cleanup of the graffiti. So it has a number of teeth in it. Again, town does have a right to remove if visible from public places, although that's subject to our tolerance for entering private property to do so. There are a number of cost recovery methodologies identified, very clearly civil liability of parents and guardians of minors that are violators. And then lastly, there is language in there for reward authority. And if the council desired to implement a reward program that leads to the arrest of or the identification, and there's a couple of different definitions of what conviction is in the ordinance for the purposes of the reward. So it doesn't necessarily mean conviction at a court level, but that reward authority is at the discretion of the council, and if that's something that the council desires, we can bring that back. Next steps, I think a couple of different things to keep in mind. Not only is it something that we're actively engaged in, but I think it probably would be helpful for us to have the right public education effort. I think it needs to be done mindfully, something we would involve our communications team to help us to where we get the word out, but we don't incentivize by calling attention to potential graffiti artists. Consideration, as we've identified, of a reward program for the council to talk about. Shane already identified consideration of an on-call abatement contractor, which we're looking for. And then finally, I've asked town legal counsel to ensure that ordinance is consistent with state law. It's been about 20 years since it was adopted, and so it's probably worth a quick review to make sure that we're on the right footing. So that concludes staff comments on this. Mayor, be happy to answer questions after public comment.
Is there anybody in the public that wants to comment on graffiti and vandalism? Anybody online? No. This subject really bothers me because it's unbelievable how much these things cost to repair or replace, and it's so frustrating when funds are limited, and then people do things like this that make the funds even less limited, or more limited and less useful for. Because they decide they want to destroy something or paint on it. So very frustrating. I'm very much in favor of a reward system, and I'd like to hear from my council members what you think.
Yeah, I agree. I would entertain an idea of a reward system, at least to start off with. I really want to thank the staff and the Sheriff's Department for responding so quickly on this. This is a thing, I don't know if other council members have been forwarding graffiti to Curtis as much as I have, but you see it and you do want to get it removed right away. On the good side, I had a gentleman who works for a landscaping company up here, didn't know I was on the town council. He was talking about how he liked this area. He lives in the low desert. And I said, oh, yeah, it's a great area. He goes, yeah, it's so nice up here and so forth. He goes, you know, one thing I've really noticed? I go, what's that? He goes, the lack of graffiti. And I said, and from where he lived, I could see why he mentioned that because it's probably pretty prominent. But I said, yeah, they do a good job of trying to get rid of it right away. So I really want to thank staff and the Sheriff's Department working so hard to get it removed right away. It never disappears as fast as you want it to be. But like you said, utility boxes and things like that, a lot of that's gone like the next day, so I'm very impressed. I also want people to know, if you're listening, you know, that we have a very, very easy way to report issues, and I love the town does this on their front page, reported issues right in the middle. You clicked on it, and then it says, what are you looking for a quick search? And I'm like, I don't know if it's code enforcement or building permit, I don't know where it goes. So I just started typing in tagging, and all of a sudden it said graffiti. And I said, yes, I can't spell graffiti, but that's the one. And I push on it, and it takes me right to the form where I can download a picture, I can show the location, and then from what I understand, that person who reports it gets an update on potholes or gets an update on graffiti removal and stuff. So it's really, really easy to use, and I'm hoping that more and more people in the community respond right away. For the captain, I was wondering, the latest conviction or the latest person that we caught doing graffiti in the town of Yucca Valley, I believe, that, unless there's been updates, was actually an adult. And then the other question is, for people buying spray paint, isn't there, the cashier has to see that they're at least 18 years of age to buy a can of spray paint?
Yeah, that's correct, and that's what Curtis was referring to as far as the town ordinance here of having it locked up unless someone is 18 years of age. The last conviction that I'm aware of, yes, was a young adult, early 20s, I believe. This most recent graffiti, we definitely believe is one of our local students, and it seems like the more pressure our school resource officer is putting on students at the school and looking through backpacks and looking for tagging, it has really slowed down in the last at least couple of weeks. We had a pretty big boom in January. So that definitely signals to us that he's on the right track, and I definitely think he's going to be able to figure out who's responsible for most of it, because you see the same moniker around town.
Okay, and then do you believe a $250 reward would be an incentive for some other young person to turn somebody else in or confidentially report somebody they know that's actively tagging?
I do, and I'm not real familiar with those programs. I know Curtis has talked a little bit with Lieutenant Huff, who's obviously not here tonight, but who's had some success at some other jurisdictions using some type of a reward system. I would only, I would be cautious, and obviously the more attention you bring to the reward, the more attention you bring to graffiti. So I don't even mention on purpose the moniker that we've been seeing around town, just because I don't want to give them any notoriety. So I think if it was done carefully, I think it would incentivize some people. And in addition to reporting on the town's website, anyone can call our non-emergency number and remain anonymous. Or if you don't even want to go through the Sheriff's Department, you could call the WeTip line at 888-78-CRIME. They won't even ask your name. They don't have caller ID, and they let us know, hey, there's graffiti in this area, and here's who you need to go talk to about it. So we've solved crimes that way. So there's lots of mechanisms. I just would be very cautious in making a hero amongst the other taggers out of the person.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this, and I do appreciate the efforts that we've taken so far. In view of what the captain just said, I guess I have mixed emotions on the reward because you don't want to draw attention to it. And I guarantee you that high rise that we were looking at, if the first graffiti had been removed and removed again and there was no satisfaction, it wouldn't look like that, and they wouldn't be paying $3.8 million or offering $3.8 million to remove it. So that expense could have been spared could have been reduced just by removing it initially. So we've seen this. I think we've cycled in Yucca Valley, where sometimes graffiti is a bigger issue than other times. And right now, I'm not sure it's a huge issue, but it's certainly enough of an issue that we should be addressing it. And holding the, I like any mechanism that holds the property owner responsible. If we could respond quickly, get a hold of them, and they could authorize us, a contractor, to go out and take care of it quickly. I think that's the key, to address it quickly, if we can possibly do that. Yeah, I'm just glad we're talking about it. I'm not sure we've arrived at the solution, but I'm glad that we're moving forward on it.
Councilmember Dennison?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we've been talking about this for a long time, and I'm glad it's getting a little more formalized and getting more tools that we can use to help abate the graffiti that we see. I think the captain said it best, the broken window theory, you know, that when people see things in disrepair, they think that that's just open for others to continue that bad behavior. I'm shocked, like in LA was mentioned by Councilmember Schooler and others in the photos. You know, it's shocking to me that in the last 2 weeks it's become such an important item, and that how could none of the leaders of that community, anybody, make a comment about it? It's in the middle of the town, it's the tallest building out there, the place is absolutely destroyed, and that didn't happen overnight. And that probably occurs throughout the entire city, so nobody really cares because they don't think they're responsive. In the town, it's very important that we do. And Merle, I'm with you. I probably bother staff quite a bit with photos and things, because as soon as I see it, it's a blemish. And that bad behavior, whether it's in a park or on some of the public utility boxes and things where we have real good control, the policy does outline, talks about right to private property, and council had talked about that and how we can navigate that. The part is to have those crews here and the tools to be able to quickly mitigate it at all levels, whether it's private, public, or anything else around here. I've seen it, so far so good on the rewards. I understand that, the right to remove, and the good part on the other end of that is the liability for any reward that is applied to this program will be the responsibility of the adult or the family, whoever the minor may be. One thing I wanted to ask staff about is, over at Jacobs Park, when we had the block work done there, was that treated at one time for graffiti reduction?
Yes.
And how has that been working out for us at that area?
Most of the time, that material has worked very well.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that, because the parks can become targets, and I think if people see that we're taking care of it, they tend to take care of it also. So thank you for all the hard work on this.
Mayor Pro Tem Droz.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to staff, and thank you the captain and the entire sheriff's department that deals with this. So we really appreciate it. It looks like we're on the right track. And so I really have nothing to add, except I think it's a good idea to have a reward for finding someone that has done graffiti. But anyway, yeah, I think everyone's doing a great job on this.
Okay. Like I said earlier, I think I'm in favor of a reward system. I don't think it needs to be, real huge or anything, but, and I don't know if it brings attention to it or if it makes it more costly for the person that gets caught doing it. I want to discourage vandalism and graffiti, and if you have other suggestions on how to do that, other than a reward type system, I'm a firm believer in, video cameras and stuff in our public park areas, so that we can identify that kind of thing. It's just so unnecessary. We just don't need it here. But I don't think it has to, $1,000. It doesn't need to be anything huge, but enough so that people know that if they're doing it, somebody's going to rat them out and get it taken care of, and then they're going to get in trouble for it. So I'm definitely in favor of that, and I do support the sheriff's department and the town staff for all that they're doing. And We do need a company that can relieve the staff of the effort involved in making sure those things disappear on a quick basis.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was going to ask staff too, hiring an outside company to go and deal with the ones that the property owner doesn't deal with and so forth. Sometimes you see these paint overs and it's as ugly as what the graffiti was. It's a brown wall and they have gray paint, and it's like, okay, there's a place for a new mural to go up in the same spot. So, it'd be really important, like in the wording of the contract, to have whoever that painter is to their best of ability blend the colors to the background so that it's not just, yeah, we painted it, but it looks ugly. So, I agree. I would like to continue to use the tools that we have, and if it's a fine, a small fine or whatever for the conviction and arrest of someone. And then the other thing is to move forward with trying to come up with some kind of language where we can contract out for those particular properties that we're having difficulty in dealing with. So I think those are two good strategies.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion? Or do we just give you
I
information?
think staff has direction. Yeah, you can expect a resolution to come back to you with any other changes, if necessary, in the ordinance at a future meeting soon.
Okay. Well, thank you. That wraps up that part for tonight. We're now on to future agenda items. Is there anybody that has future agenda items? No. Let's make it a simple night. Anybody? Okay. This is the time that Town Council takes this time to consider your comments on items of concern which are not on the agenda. When you are called to speak, please state your name and community of residence. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Inappropriate behavior which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting will result in forfeiture of your public comment privilege. The Town Council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not on the printed agenda. But if there's anybody in the public that would like to comment on any item, please feel free to come to the podium, state your name and city of residence. We would love to hear any comments on any ideas that you have or things of concern. Is there anybody in the online? It's a very quiet night. So let's move on to staff reports and comments.
I don't think we have too many. Captain, you have anything? Go ahead.
I would like to highlight one thing. Back on January the 26th, we had a 16-year-old juvenile who was fatally struck with a vehicle near Avalon on Highway 62. Deputies doing patrol in the area actually came across the juvenile down in the roadway, quickly figured out that he was struck by a vehicle. And it's absolutely tragic. Obviously, the 16-year-old didn't make it, would have been 17 now, about to have a birthday, but regardless, our detective bureau did a phenomenal job, and I'm very happy to report to you that we identified our suspect this morning. The district attorney's office filed felony hit-and-run charges against the driver, who happens to be the owner of one of our local tow companies, who was driving a tow truck when he struck the 16-year-old. So it would have been our preference to go out and arrest the individual today. However, the district attorney's office has had correspondence with the attorney of the suspect in this case, and made arrangements for him to surrender next week on the 27th at his arraignment.
Wow.
So it was hopefully some closure for the family of the 16-year-old, but I would put our detective bureau against anybody. I can't get into the means that they took to crack it. It's going to be obviously pending a court case, but it was phenomenal. They were using some tactics that weren't even around when I was a detective, and just out of the box thinking, really bringing justice for this 16-year-old. So very proud of them, and very happy with the filing this morning from the district attorney's office.
It's always so tragic, so many ways, yeah.
Thanks, Captain. Alex or Sue, anything?
Just a couple of announcements. Our second STEM workshop this coming Saturday. The kids will be making a marble run. So building a marble run, learning about energy, gravity, centrifugal force, all of that. Our art programs continue to be popular. The next Draw Club is on March 7th. A senior center had a full house for their Valentine's party, and the Youth Commission is going to be joining them, providing teen tech time for seniors, and then the Youth Commission is also throwing a senior prom, little dinner dance for the seniors coming up first weekend of March. And registration is still open for the Healthy Hearts Run and adult softball. Thank you.
Very good.
Awesome,
Thank you.
thanks, Sue, appreciate that. Leslie, can I ask you to provide any update on the county's ballot and election information trailer or initiative?
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. So the Registrar of Voters Office has a ballot mobile that they are sending around to different locations within the county. Yucca Valley will have our ballot mobile here at the library parking lot next week on Tuesday, the 29th. So they're only here for a short time in the morning from 10 to noon. 10 to noon. In the library parking lot, and they can assist voters with registering to vote, maybe going over their ballot information, that type of thing. So they're here in person to provide assistance.
One of the services that the town offers for development projects is a free service. It happens every Thursday at 1:30 in the afternoon. Your development team, which consists of planning, building and safety, and engineering, sits down with prospective development projects, development proposals, and we provide them with feedback on standards and processes and issues and things like the Western Joshua Tree that are not even a town regulation, but fall under state law. This is a free service. There's a simple one-page application that folks turn in the week before. They sit down with staff the following week and pretty much walk them through what they can expect in that development process. That's the timelines, that's the standards, that's what hearings are required. It's also what are some of the unknowns as you start getting into CEQA and environmental studies. There are unknowns that come out of that process. So that occurs, that's free, there's no charge for that service. Then there's a second tier called pre-application, where folks can pay around an $800 application fee, submit a little bit more of a formal plan, and actually sit down with staff and receive draft conditions of approval that are likely to come out of their project, along with some of the similar information that comes out of the DRC process. We highly encourage, if you ever speak with anyone who's talking about development projects, encourage them to use that process. The projects that run into the problems, and there are many, are the ones that don't talk to the town before they submit an application.
Right.
And then they're months behind because they didn't do their homework. Maybe their project representative has never worked in the Morongo Basin before, doesn't know what the Morongo Basin issues are geographically, physically, environmentally. That's a disadvantage. So encourage them to take advantages of these processes. One is completely free. It's very educational. The second one has what I would consider a very minor cost related to it. And you have probably 90% of the answers about your development project before you have submitted a formal application, maybe before you've even hired an architect or a civil engineer or a planning firm to prepare the application for you. So just wanted to mention that this evening. These are services the town provides to try and help ease the burden of California state regulations on the land development process.
The free one was on Thursday, every Thursday?
Every Thursday, 1:30. Sometimes we don't have any scheduled because no one has made an application, but this Thursday we have two different project proponents that we're meeting with.
Very good, all right. Well, thank you. I think the public will find that helpful.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Shane. And we would even extend that for those individuals wanting to have that conversation if they're even thinking about buying property for a specific project in town that they have in mind, to give them ideas of what different considerations they may want to look at.
I think that'd be helpful.
Two brief comments, and then we'll move on. Just an announcement that your Supervisor Rao, and Sheriff Dykes will be at an open house on Wednesday, February 28th at the Joshua Tree Community Center dealing with public safety. So that may be something that the council's interested. And then finally, we had the opportunity to meet with the Revenue Measure Oversight Commission earlier this month, and they had some pretty exciting and informational recommendations for the town council. So we'll shape that up and bring that back to the town council in the near future.
Very good. We're on to mayor and council member reports and comments. Is there anything you want to comment on?
Couple of things. Well, first of all, I appreciate the information on the development projects. Is that something people just show up somewhere to, or how do they get on the calendar for that, or do they just show up?
So there's a one-page application form. We ask for that to come to us the close of business the week prior. That way, because staff has to do a little bit of research and compilation of data and information for them. So one-page application, that gets submitted to us, and we put them on the following week's agenda. We provide them the time slot at which that meeting will occur, and then staff is prepared to walk them through that information.
So it's not everybody in the room at the same time, it's...
Individual projects, that's
Appointment
correct.
after another.
One at a time.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I'm glad we do that. And where do they get the form, the application form?
Off the town's webpage.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate the Sheriff Service Specialist report tonight and the Citizens on Patrol. Thank you, Harry, for spending your birthday with us. I think that's just awesome. I couldn't think of a better way to spend it. Anyway, yeah, I like the items on the town beautification. I'm glad we're moving forward on that, and just look forward to our projects scooting along. So thank you, Alex, and that's it for me.
Okay. Councilmember Abel, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, no comments tonight, but thank you all for your hard work and appreciate it, and look forward to our next meeting.
Very good. Councilmember Dennison?
Thank you, Mayor. Same thing, I just want to say thank you to Paige and Melissa for coming out here, Captain, and allowing them to talk a little bit about the services they provide and what a broad scope of services they do, other than just helping, the deputies out there manage their day-to-day caseloads. That's great. And Harry, also thank you for the Citizens on Patrol. It looks like there's an appetite by the SSS team to get you from 17 to 25, so hopefully that'll help you guys out with a little bit of the work. So everyone's listening, and they want you guys to succeed very well. Other than that, happy birthday again, and thanks for joining us for the entire meeting. Sometimes it gets a little long.
Yeah, it's nice of you, thank you. On your birthday, wow.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Droz.
All right. Yeah, happy birthday, Harry. I just want to say, over the last 2 weeks, I've had several really great things happen. One was being able to escort the young ladies at the Miss Yucca Valley tournament to their microphone to give their speech. So I escorted each one at a time, all 7, and wonderful ladies. Rachel Gibbs ended up being crowned Miss Yucca Valley, so I'm sure we'll see her in her court here eventually. And my next thing that's really great, it's a personal story. I won't try not to go on too long. But when I lost my arm from cancer 20 years ago, I had a doctor at Cedars-Sinai that treated me, and I consider him saving my life. And he emailed me last week and said he'd like to come to my house and visit me. And he just retired a year and a half ago. So he came this morning. And he visited me, and he knows I have donkeys, so they got to feed the donkeys. But just remember, everybody's life you touch, it's important to them. And it was such an honor, and it was so emotional to have him come to my house. And now he invited me to his house, and I have his address, so we'll see what happens.
Thanks for
Yeah, sure.
That's really a nice story. Kind of small town thing, huh?
Yeah.
Was he local?
No.
Down.
He was in Pacific Palisades. He was a doctor at Cedars-Sinai.
Oh, very good.
Osteo,
Wonderful.
orthopedic doctor, or not orthopedic, cancer doctor. He gave me my chemotherapy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really impressive. That's nice. Okay, I'm just going to keep it quiet and say thank you. Happy birthday. Glad that you are with the town here doing that volunteer stuff. It's important to us, and we want to encourage you in every way. Love our staff. Guys are outperforming all the time. And thank you for the Sheriff's Department for keeping us safe, and kudos to the detectives for hunting down that hit and run. There's been a little too many of those lately, and we appreciate the efforts. So, all right, the next regular meeting of the Town of Yucca Valley Town Council will be held on Tuesday, March 5th at 6 p.m. here in the Yucca Valley Community Center room, adjourned. Have a good night, drive safe, get home carefully.